First off, before we do anything, we lost yet another legend. And it seems like over the last couple of months or so, actually longer than that, we've lost a few of our legends. And when I say that, I mean, I'm talking about legends from whenever I was a child, whenever I was like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, watching baseball on television. I actually got the opportunity, and in some respects, sometimes, every now and again, whenever I was older and actually got a chance to go to Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium, saw some of these folks live, but most of them I saw on television. But week after week, day after day, we're getting the news, the breaking news that another legend has passed on. And needless to say, yesterday the news came out that Henry Aaron passed away. Hank Aaron passed away on yesterday. He was 86. And Mr. Aaron was legendary because he actually broke an existing home run record that was held for a very long time. The home run record was 714, and it was held by Babe Ruth for years. And as Hank Aaron consistently moved toward breaking that record, it was amazing the hate that he received. Because, see, this was the situation. We had a record that was being held by a white ball player or a Caucasian ball player that was about to be broken by an African-American ball player. And see, this is where the sickness of racism infiltrates even a game. When you start talking about hatred coming about because of your skin color approaching a record. And I saw something or read something or heard something yesterday that says he had all his accolades and everything. He had them in one place, but he also kept all the hate mail that he had received during that time as he was pursuing the record. Because he wanted folks to know what he went through. He wanted folks to know the hatred he had experienced simply because he was a black man who was now going after the home run record that was held by a white man. I remember that night well. My father and I was sitting there watching our television and seeing TVs were not like they are now, like flat screens. It was the big console TV that sat on the floor, made out of wood. They were heavy. But I remember it was like our first color television because, up until like the 70s, we had black and white television. Up to like 1972 or 1973, we had a black and white television. But somewhere around that time, we were able to get our first color television. And I remember we were watching the television and it was all the hype because they never knew when they called him Hammer and Hank. They never knew when Hammer and Hank was going to hit number 715. So that particular night, it was being broadcast. And interestingly enough, Henry Aaron wore number 44. He was facing off against a pitcher who also had on the number 44. Also was an African-American. I mean, I thought about this last night in terms of the setup. So you had an African-American pitcher. You had an African-American ball player pursuing the home run record. Both of them wore number 44. And on that particular night, he hit it. And I remember my father and I were sitting there watching whenever 715 went over the fence. And oh, what a celebration it was. But what we never did see was the hatred. That's the part that is just absolutely kind of blows my mind. Yet I'm not surprised by, saddened, but not surprised. But the hatred he experienced because he was pursuing or because he was going to break. I mean, it was obvious that unless something like tragic happened where he just couldn't play anymore, that he was going to surpass 714. And sure enough, he did. But in any event, Henry Aaron passed on yesterday. So this show would be dedicated to his life and times. And I was talking about the legends. Oh, no, we lost Tom Seaver. We lost Bob Gibson. We lost Lou Brock. And the list can go, on and on over the years. But what that's saying is because these were guys that whenever I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, were in their 20s and 30s at that time. So they were already 10, 15, 20 years older than me or more or a little less. However, that means we are all processing and moving along in life, and we're aging. And each generation now is moving along. And before long, it'll be our time to move along too. But it was wonderful to be a part of all this history during my lifetime, during the lifetime, so much history over the lifetime of things to be able to witness. Last week in the playoff games, had the opportunity to witness Drew Brees' last football game. He's retiring. I mean, there's been many greats that I've had the opportunity to see them break records or retire in this lifetime. Many of the records, even Henry Aaron's record, I had a chance to see that when Bobby Bonds broke that. So I saw Henry Aaron break Babe Ruth's record, and I saw Bobby Bonds break Henry Aaron's record. Michael Jordan, I had the opportunity to see. As far as I'm concerned, Michael Jordan is the greatest. Talk about the GOAT. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever, in my mind, bar none. You may disagree. Some of you may agree, some may disagree. But in my mind, Michael Jordan was the best, and I had the opportunity to see that. As much as I may or may not particularly care for Tom Brady, and I really don't care one way or the other, but he is the truth in terms of quarterbacking, because he did it up in New England, and now it's a good chance he may wind up taking Tampa Bay to the Super Bowl. Now, see, that's when you can tell. That's when you know, because you can take it from place to place and win, and regardless of where you're playing or who you're being coached by, that's when you know it's the truth. So I got to give props to Tom Brady. I really do. Wonderful time to be alive in terms of watching athletes, in terms of records being broken. But it's also wonderful to be alive to see what's going on from the standpoint of ceilings being shattered. And I'm going to connect this to what I was talking about with Henry Aaron earlier in terms of the hatred that he received because he was a black baseball player who was about to break the record of a white baseball player. And I said it earlier, racism infiltrates everything. And I've never quite understood it, yet at the same time I do understand it, because I understand the whole power thing. I understand that part of it. But it's just interesting that we use skin color as the thing to hold over somebody in terms of power. But that's history. But history was made in 2008 whenever we had our first black president in Barack Obama. And history was also made again in this past election when we have our first female vice president. And not only is she female, but she's also black. She's also Indian. She's also Asian American. She's also Jamaican. She's mixed. So we have our first female. Vice President Harris is the first female to get to that level. Out of all these years, the first female to get into that, because she's only really one position away now. And that's coming. Hopefully it'll be in our lifetime, but that's coming. The United States is going to have at some point its first woman president. Now, other countries have already processed. They're looking at America like, what is the big deal? You have other countries around the world who've had women leaders. They've had women as the head of the country. So some of those countries are looking at the United States and saying, well, what is the big deal? Now, let's be real. One of the reasons Donald Trump was able to get in at that time was you still had a lot of people who just could not accept the fact that a woman might lead the country. Now, give or take, folks did or did not like Hillary Clinton one way or the other, but it was more than just they didn't like Hillary. There was more to it than that, because now you started getting into the gender thing. You had folks that just could not. And there are folks right now who cannot believe that we have a woman vice president. But a lot of the reason that Hillary did not get in, besides all the other factors, was the fact that she was a woman. Now, there's a lot of other factors, don't get me wrong. The fact that she was a Clinton, folks was worrying about, all right, is this thing inherited, because her husband was at one time, because, But it was a lot of that had to do with the fact that she was a woman. But she knocked on the door enough for 4 years later for Kamala Harris now to make it to the vice presidential level. I watched that inauguration on Wednesday, and oh, wow. I watched it with my school. My entire school, all of us were tuned in to the inauguration on Wednesday. And I tend to look at things from a big picture perspective, not just from, I look at it from the details, but I also look at the big picture. And when I sat back and watched the big picture of that inauguration, everything in that inauguration was done by design and was intentional. Everything. There was not one thing left to chance in that inauguration, and everything in that inauguration was designed and meant to send a message of inclusion, to send a message of everyone matters. That's why that whole thing this morning with Iyanla, where she says, and I have to go back and look at it because, like I said, it will make Twitter. If nothing but the particular opening of the book, where she says, life will work for me when I realize I am in a different part of the same boat as everyone else. We are all in the same boat. There is no one people in that boat. There is no one color of person in that boat. There is no one gender of person in that boat. We are all in the same boat. And that's what that inauguration was trying to reflect on Wednesday, the 20th of January, 2021. It reflected every race and ethnic background one way or the other. It reflected gender. It reflected age. It reflected religious beliefs. It reflected musical styles and tastes. There was nothing left to chance in that inauguration if you really sit back and analyze it. And everyone played their part well. Whether it was Garth Brooks, whether it was J-Lo, whether it was Gaga, whether it was the young lady Amanda Gorman, the poet laureate, whether it was the pastor who did the benediction, whether it was the preacher who did the opening, whether it was the leader, the master or mistress of ceremony, whatever role was played was done with excellence, and it was done to show that everyone matters. I don't know if you picked up on this or not, but there was a piece when J-Lo was singing where she went into Spanish. She went into Spanish with some of the lyrics. Inclusion. You will never, ever win by just treating people any old kind of way. The downfall of Donald Trump was the way he treated people. I mean, it wasn't a matter of, I don't like him, this one I like it. The man was rotten when it came to how he treated people. And you will never win in roughshotting over people the way that people have been taken advantage of and abused over the last 4 years. And I've said and I've written, and I'm going to say it here again on the show, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are no saviors. They're not perfect. They got a lot to deal with in terms of trying to correct what was taken out of line. So they're not perfect. They're not going to be able to they're not magical. They're not any of that. But one thing they have over the past administration is they're not mean-spirited either. They're not evil-spirited. That's the main differentiator for me, was the spirit and the motive behind why and how things are done. That inauguration wasn't just some comedy hour. It wasn't no time just to be calling folks names and acting as if no one else mattered and you were all this and that. That inauguration wasn't about that. That inauguration wasn't happy hour. It wasn't rally hour. It wasn't Klan hour. It wasn't that. The inauguration that we just saw was trying to be, or to show everyone that regardless of your skin color, regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, regardless of your orientation, regardless of your preference, regardless of your religion, regardless of whatever, that you matter. That's what that inauguration was reflecting. The young lady, the Gorman, Miss Gorman, was only 22. Then you had the president who was 78. And you had everything else in between. Garth Brooks sings country music. Gaga sings, I'm not sure what Gaga sings. I don't know if it's called pop, rap, hip hop, R&B. Maybe it might be a little bit of all of it. And you had everything again in between. And again, we have our first woman vice president. I posted a photo that I saw going on there that had Kamala Harris standing in front of all of the other vice presidents. And somebody hit me back up on Twitter, said, is that all of the other is she standing in front of all of the other vice presidents we've had? Is that a picture of all the other vice presidents? And somebody else, I didn't even get a chance to answer. Somebody answered and said, yes, ma'am, that's it. All white men. Kamala Harris, that's where she was standing at. That's what the photo was. She was standing next to all of the vice presidents that we've had since we've been a nation. And they were all white men. No women of any color. White, black, red, yellow, green. No women, period. So the person hit me back up on Twitter, and that was the question, was that all? Yes, that was all of our other vice presidents to date. So Kamala had the opportunity because of everybody else that's gone in front of her. Because, see, that door has been chipped away at that door was chipped away at with Shirley Chisholm. That door was chipped away at with Barbara Jordan. That door was chipped away at with Hillary Clinton. That door was chipped away at with every woman who went into political office and continued to rise. Whether they had to start at the local level and then work their way up to the state level and then work their way up to the national level. That's how that door continued to be chipped. The women mayors, the women governors, women in the Senate, women in the Congress, women in the Supreme Court. Even that, who swore in Kamala Harris, was by design when they had Justice Sotomayor do it. Because she was the first Latina woman on the Supreme Court. Everything was symbolic. Everything was inclusive and reflective of inclusivity. It was letting folks know there is just no one group of people that makes up the United States. And see, if the country, when we finally all get that, oh my God, you want to talk about America being America, then America's really going to fly. I'm Twitter is probably one of my favorite social media outlets. I mean, I like all of them. I love social media, period. But Twitter is probably my favorite because, I can kind of scroll through. So as I'm scrolling through, I see even black people, what is Joe Biden going to do for black people? So my response was kind of like, I'm not looking for Joe Biden to do anything for black people per se, because we're always wanting somebody to do something for. No. I take on the James Brown approach. Just open up the door. I'll do it myself. I'll get it myself. Just open up the door. Because, see, that's been the issue, that, the obstacles and the blocks that's been put in. It's not that we can't do it. We're constantly being blocked from doing it. So my thing is, I'm not asking what Joe Biden going to do for black people. I'm not looking for Joe Biden to do anything for black people. I'm looking for black people to do for themselves, but at the same time, not for them to be blocked from doing what they can do. Not from them being blocked from doing what they can do, because that's been the issue. The issue is not that black people can't do. They've been constantly hindered and blocked intentionally from doing. So whenever I see those out there that are, out there so radical and they're, well, what are you going to do for black people, the black agenda and all this? No, the only a black agenda we need is just leave us open up the door. Just leave the door open. We'll get it ourselves. Or give us the key. We can unlock the door, open the door and get in ourselves. Or we'll go make a key. Just don't be a hindrance, a block, an obstacle. Because that's what it's been. That's what it's been. So I kind of call it like I see it on both sides. I'm not necessarily trying to take one side or the other. Personally, I've said this before on the show. We need to do away with all these labels. We need to do away with these labels. All they're doing is separating folks. Red, blue, conservative, liberal, left, right, up, down. We really need to do away with these labels and really work together. And as Iyanla said, really understand. We're all in the same boat. Now, we may be in different parts of the boat, but we're still all in that same boat. I thought Wednesday was wonderful. I've seen inaugurations before, and for the most part, they've all been okay. But this one, I think it was more significant only because it really was trying to send that message of everybody matters. It does not matter if you're Jewish, does not matter if you're Christian, does not matter if you're Muslim, does not matter if you're black, does not matter if you're white, doesn't matter if you're male, doesn't matter if you're a woman, doesn't matter if you're young, doesn't matter if you're an elder, doesn't matter. Everybody matters. That's what that inauguration was symbolic of. We all matter. Not just one group matters. All of the groups matter. And see, that's what the issue is now. All the other groups are all of them beginning to step up now. At one point, it might have been one or two groups that was pushing back. But now all of the groups are yelling loudly and proudly, we matter. That's where some of this so-called disenfranchisement is coming in. Because all the other groups now, they're yelling back loudly and proudly. You're not the only ones. That's what all the other groups are letting the one group, the dominant group, who's no longer really the dominant group, they're letting them know, you are not the only ones. There are other folks here too. That's why that song, this land is your land. This land is my land. This land was made for you and me. This land was not made just for you. This land was made for you and for me. Wonderful display on Wednesday. Thank God for Henry Aaron's life. 86 years. He had a relatively long life. 86 years and his accomplishments and everything that he endured for just hitting home runs. He was good at what he did. He was a good ball player. He was good at what he could hit. He was good at what he did. And it just happens that, you know what? He was going beyond what Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth could hit too. During Babe Ruth's time, he could hit. Yes, he could hit. And he got to 714, but Henry Aaron could hit too. And he hit more. Must begin to work together. Together. And that doesn't mean even when working together that you're not going to disagree about some things. I saw something and I posted the other day. Just because we disagree on something doesn't mean I hate you. Just because we may not agree on something does not mean I hate you. We just disagree on that. But folks take this thing to, well, because we are not the same, then I hate you. See, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That's it for my commentary today. As always, thank you for allowing me to share that. You can always, visit my website if you like, marcamedley.com. If you Google me, it's there. Just make sure you know it's Mark with a C. M-A-R-C, not M-A-R-K. All right. Find out about me. That's the hub for everything. You just go there. Just go to my website, marcamedley.com.